Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. And if you're new, welcome. My name is Adelina and I make videos about living in this tiny house on wheels and living a more intentional life. My neighbor picked up 10 pounds of blueberries at the local produce stand and she asked me if I wanted some, so I said yes, absolutely. At first I said no, I don't have any room in my fridge or my freezer, but then I realized that I haven't made blueberry bars in ages. And so then I changed my mind and said yes. So these are one of my favorite things at Starbucks when I still ate eggs and dairy were the blueberry bars. Of course, nothing at Starbucks is vegan right now except for maybe bagels, which is really unfortunate when it comes to treats, but I still miss them. And the blueberry oat bars were my favorite there. And so this recipe is my way of recreating that. It's delicious. It's a great way to use berries of any kind. You can use any kind of berry with this. I'm using blueberries because, of course, I'm recreating the blueberry bars. But you could use strawberries, raspberries, blackberries, pretty much any berry you want. So we're going to start with the blueberry mix because we need to simmer that down. So we're going to get started with this. All of the ingredients and the directions will be listed down below in the show notes. But for the blueberry mix, you need 3 cups of blueberries, washed blueberries. I love how these are all different sizes. So that's what we're using. Half a cup of maple syrup, Canadian Gold, 1 tablespoon of lemon juice, and then 1 tablespoon of cornstarch mixed with 1 tablespoon of cold water. This is, you mix it up into a slurry, and this is used at the end to help thicken this. But to start, we're going to get this going. I'm going to put this, I'm going to start it on, which one is it? On low, and put my blueberries in there, and my maple syrup. We don't want to waste any of the maple syrup. Get it all in here. So we've got 3 cups of blueberries, 1/2 of a cup of maple syrup, 1 tablespoon of lemon juice, and then we're not going to put the cornstarch in yet. Okay, so while that's simmering on low, we're going to mix the ingredients for the base and the crumble on top. We've got 2 cups of quick oats. You can use rolled oats, but I wouldn't use all rolled oats because it won't bind as well. So 2 cups of quick oats, 1 cup of flour, 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar. I've got 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix this up, and then we're going to add 3/4 of a cup of margarine. If you're using the stick kind, you want to soften it. This is the tub kind. But I want to mix these other ingredients up together first before I start cutting in the margarine. Making sure to stir this so it doesn't stick or burn. Ooh, it's nice and thick. Okay, so I'm going to add in the margarine, and with what's left on this plate, I'm going to grease my dish. Now, most recipes call by a 9 by 12. This is an 8 by 11 or something like that. Whatever. A big casserole dish. They'll either be thinner squares or thicker squares, depending on the size of your dish. All right, so that is prepared. And now with the margarine in there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my pastry cutter and sort of cut it in. because you want the mixture to be kind of crumbly. We're going to pack the half of this into the base of the squares, and the rest will be the crumble on top. And the reason I haven't told you to preheat the oven is because it's going to take a while for this to cool down, and we want the filling to be cooled down before we put it on the base. And just keep doing this until you've got no just loose powder, no loose flour. Everything looks like it's got a little bit of the margarine combined with it. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to put about half of this mixture, I guess it's about 1.5 cups-ish, into the casserole dish, and we're going to pack it down. But we want to make sure we leave enough to put on top. So we just want a layer on the bottom. Doesn't have to be super thick, but it has to be thick enough that it'll hold together when you cut the squares. And my philosophy is I can always make more crumble for the top if I start putting it on and there's not enough to make me happy. Because as you saw, the ingredients are pretty straightforward. Whoops. Okay. Now, as you can see, this has gotten fairly thick, but it's still not thick enough to get, thick enough for this. So now this is where that 1 tablespoon of cornstarch comes in. Sorry, I wanted you to be able to see what I'm doing on the stove. So just give it a stir, and making sure that you're using cold water when you're making your slurry, not hot water. And then you add that 1 tablespoon of cold water with the 1 tablespoon of cornstarch into your mix. And it's going to thicken this up pretty darn quick. Basically, make a nice little jam, which you could put on toast and a bagel. But I would recommend continuing to stir. So you want it thick enough so that when you do this, you see that, I don't know if you can see that, you see the little line that it creates? Yeah, a nice thick jam. If you were in a pinch and you wanted to make a dessert real quick, and you have a favorite brand of blueberry preserves or berry preserves, you could use them in a pinch. But there's nothing like making it from scratch. Okay, so I'm going to turn that off. And once that's cool, then we can assemble the squares and bake them. It just started raining, which is kind of nice. Okay, so the filling has cooled enough that we can actually make our squares now. So we've got our base, and I'm going to spread this all over it. You know, I'm not kidding, this filling is great on ice cream, as just some preserves for your toast or anything like that. I mean, it's not going to last a ton of time because there's no, it's not, you'd probably want to use it up within, a week or so, but you could probably freeze it. Or if you can, you could probably can it. I don't can. So now let's just spread this out in a nice layer. I am preheating my oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. That's so good. Okay, so I've got the rest of the crumble here, and now with clean hands, we're just going to layer this over top. Make sure you get to the edges. I'd love to know down below what each of yours favorite treat to have at Starbucks or any other coffee or tea shop that you like to go to. I'm frustrated with Starbucks because they used to have a macadamia nut cookie that was vegan, and they discontinued it. So there is literally no treats other than maybe some prepackaged prepackaged bars, kind bars and stuff like that, that I can get at Starbucks that are vegan. I don't go to a coffee shop to get a kind bar, you know, or those types of granola bars. I want like a baked treat. So I'm not going to pack this down. You'll notice I'm not packing it down. Hey, Sophie. Hello. Yes, is it supper time for you? Supper time for her. All right, so this is ready to go in the oven. I'm going to stick it in the oven for 40 minutes, 30 to 40 minutes. You don't want it to get too brown on top, but you definitely want it to cook. You want the filling to be bubbly. So usually about 35, 40 minutes for that. And then we will see what they look like when they come up. All right, so here we go. Those are so good. They'll be even better as they cool off a bit. It's still just a little warm. Those blueberries are amazing. There's nothing like farm stand fresh blueberries. Now, I'm not a berry person. If you know me in real life, you know that I'm not a berry person because I don't like the seeds in berries. Blueberries are the only berry that I'll eat on a fairly regular basis. I don't eat them raw unless I put them into my smoothie. They're raw in there. But I like to cook with them, bake with them, muffins, these squares, things like that. Other berries like strawberries, raspberries, blackberries, they just have so many seeds. And the seeds, like I say, I'm a texture person. The seeds kind of gross me out. But I will put them in my smoothies because I have a Vitamix. And a Vitamix pulverizes everything. And so the seeds somehow, they just disappear in my Vitamix. And I love them in my smoothies. But if you want a really nice, easy little dessert or something to take to a potluck, something to have with your coffee or your tea, this is the recipe for you. It's not super sweet. I mean, the blueberries have a lot of sweetness on their own. And we did add that maple syrup and the brown sugar. But you could cut back the brown sugar if you wanted. You could try cutting back or eliminating the maple syrup in the blueberry mix if you want. But you know what? It's a treat. It's supposed to be a little decadent. So guys, I hope you give this a try. I'll put the full recipe down below. And I don't have a printable recipe. I got asked for that recently in a comment. I always put the recipe down below in the show notes. If you open it on a device like your laptop or your tablet or your phone, you'll be able to screenshot it. But I don't have a website. I don't know how to build a website. I don't know anything about that, hosting a website or anything like that. So I don't have printable recipes. That's something I should probably think about doing, but as you know, I've had a lot going on. So I haven't yet, but that's how you can get the recipes. They're always down in the show notes of the videos. So anyways, guys, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. Still only about 50% of my viewers are subscribers, and I don't understand why, because it doesn't cost you anything to subscribe. So please subscribe if you're not already. And I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you're staying safe, eat good food, be kind. I love you. I'll see you next time.